In the United Kingdom, we treat retirement like a distant mountain peak, something we'll eventually reach just by walking forward. We assume the path keeps rising, the summit is waiting, and one day we'll simply arrive. But in 2026, there is a specific age where the ground disappears, where the path you've been following turns out to be painted onto a wall. And millions of people are about to discover they've spent 30 years walking toward a mirage. There's a single moment when the walking stops, when you finally pull out the numbers, and the numbers pull the floor out from under you. It isn't a birthday. It isn't a letter from the government. It's an arithmetic ambush. And for most Brits, that moment now has an exact age. It's 54. Not 65, not 67. The new state pension age, 54. Because 54 is the last year, the math still bends. Think about what 54 actually means. You are 1 year from 55, the earliest age you can touch your private pension, and that door is rising to 57 by 2028. You are close enough to see the finish line, and, for the first time, close enough to count what is genuinely waiting there for you. And here is the quiet cruelty of compound growth. Compounding is a runway. It needs road ahead of it to do anything at all. At 30, a small pot has decades to multiply, so every pound you add lands early and grows for a lifetime. At 54, that runway is down to roughly a decade. There simply isn't enough road left for growth to rescue you. From 54 onward, your pot is built almost entirely from what you put in, not from what the market hands back. The engine that was supposed to do the heavy lifting has quietly switched itself off. That is why 54 is the wake-up. It is the last year you can still change the ending of the story. So let's open the pot and look inside. This is where it gets uncomfortable. The average pension pot a British saver actually retires with is around £37,000. And before you assume that's just the young and the careless dragging the number down, even those closest to the finish line, savers, aged between 55 and 64, hold a median of only about £137,800. Now, here is the number standing on the other side of the chasm. The Pensions and Lifetime Savings Association, the PLSA, publishes the benchmark for what retirement genuinely costs. In 2026, a single person needs £45,400 a year for what they call a comfortable retirement. To generate an income like that for the rest of your life, you need a pot of over £800,000. Some estimates push it as high as £845,000. Read those two numbers back to back. £37,000, sitting in the space where £800,000 is supposed to be. That is not a gap you close with a bit of budgeting, that is a chasm. And at 54, for the first time, you can see exactly how wide it is. Here's what living through your 30s and 40s in Britain actually feels like. You're driving up a beautiful mountain road. It's foggy, but you're relaxed, because you assume there's a guardrail. That guardrail is the state pension, the thing you quietly believe will catch you if you ever slip. Then, at 54, the fog clears. You glance to your right, and you realize the guardrail ended 10 miles back. You're on a narrow ledge, doing 70, with £250,000 drop inches from your wheels. Because here's the truth about that guardrail. The full new state pension in 2026 is £12,548 a year. That is below even the most basic standard of living the PLSA measures, and it now sits just £22 beneath the tax-free personal allowance of £12,570, which means the government is about to start taxing the very pension it hands you. The guardrail was never a guardrail. It was a line painted onto the edge of the cliff. And for a fast-growing group of Brits, there's a second drop hidden below the first one. Rent. For decades, the entire British pension system was built on one silent assumption, that by the time you retire, the mortgage is gone and the home is yours. But that assumption is collapsing in real time. By 2044, 1 in 3 pensioner households is projected to be renting, nearly 2 million more people reaching retirement without owning the roof over their heads. Now do the maths, because it's brutal. Rent of £1,200 a month is £14,400 a year. Take a saver who did better than average, a pot of £100,000, spend it on nothing but rent, and it is gone in under 7 years. No food, no heating, no holidays. Just 7 years of keeping a roof over your head, and then nothing left but the state pension, which, on its own, barely covers the rent for 8 months of the year. Rent doesn't shrink your retirement, it deletes it. Now the part almost nobody sees coming. Think of your career as a battery you've been charging for decades. Every payslip, a little more charge. You assume the screen says 100%. You've been paying in the whole time, so surely it must be full. But at 54, you finally check the battery levels, and you discover 2 apps have been running quietly in the background the entire time, draining it while the screen was off. The first app is inflation. £100 from 2020 is worth under £80 today, a fifth of your money's power, gone, without you spending a penny. The second app is management fees, a charge that sounds almost too small to matter. 1%, maybe 1.5% a year, quietly devours a third or more of your final pot across a full working life. You thought you were sitting at 100%. You check, and the real number is 20% of charge for a journey that needs 80. The battery was never full. Something was always draining it. You just never opened the settings to look. So what happens when the numbers finally refuse to add up? People don't retire, they unretire, and it is already happening. The share of over 65s still earning money from work has climbed from 14% to 16% in just a few years. 1 in 6 retirees has now returned to work or is seriously thinking about it, and the number one reason they give is money. Nearly a third of retirees say their standard of living is actually worse than before they stopped working. This is the new British retirement, not a cruise, not a garden, a name badge and a shift rota in the service sector in your late 60s because the pot ran dry a decade too early. Retirement stopped being a destination. It quietly became a pause between jobs. But here is why 54 is a wake-up call and not a death sentence. If you can see the chasm, you can start building a bridge across it, and you build that bridge with 3 planks. Plank 1. Catch-up contributions. Your pension annual allowance is up to £60,000 a year, and carry-forward rules let you sweep up 3 previous, unused years on top. For a higher rate taxpayer, putting £10,000 into a self-invested personal pension, a SIPP, costs just £6,000 after tax relief. HMRC tops up the rest. This is the single most powerful catch-up tool the entire system hands you. Plank 2. The Stocks and Shares ISA, your shadow fund. Your pension is locked until 55, soon 57, but a Stocks and Shares ISA, up to £20,000 a year, grows completely tax-free, and you can reach it at any age. It's the bridge that carries you across the dangerous years before your pension unlocks, the gap that forces so many people back to work. Plank 3. The National Insurance Top-Up. You need 35 qualifying years for the full state pension. If you have gaps, you can normally fill the last 6 years. One missing year costs under £1,000 through HMRC and adds around £358 a year to your pension for the rest of your life. Just know that the old window to buy back, all the way to 2006, closed in April 2025. Now the clock is 6 years, and it is always ticking. So here is the real lesson of 54, the lesson of the mirror. One day you will stand in front of a mirror, and the person looking back will either thank you or blame you, because retirement in the UK was never a gift from the government. It was never a guardrail waiting patiently on the mountain road. It is a product, and there is only one person in the entire world you can buy it from: your younger self. Every single pound you put in today, you are buying a day of freedom for the person standing in that mirror. The wall is only invisible until you decide to look at it. So look now, while you still have road ahead of you to build the bridge. Because at 54, the fog clears whether you are ready or not. The only question that will matter is what you spent all the years before it doing. If you learned something from this video, like and subscribe. See you in the next one.